Our first trip on the Schuylkill River Trail was in 2016 when we started in the heart of Philadelphia. We didn't have our e-bikes back then, and one of our highlights was to ride to the art museum to see the Rocky statue. But this adventure started about 20 miles outside of Philadelphia at the Betzwood trailhead, and is part of the 3,500-acre Valley Forge National Historical Park. Our goal was to head west toward Parker Ford, which was about 14 miles away. The trail currently runs about 71 miles, and it's intended to be extended to get up to 120 miles in the future. This section of the trail was very different than the trail we'd experienced when we were in town, as you might expect. This is a lot more wooded and shaded, and it was really hot the day we took this ride. Well, here we've encountered the intersection of the Schuylkill and the Perkiomen Trail. Perkiomen Trail goes about 20 miles, I'd say, north. We really enjoyed our ride on this part of the trail. It was totally paved, it was a beautiful day, it wasn't terribly crowded, and we'd ride this trail again. quick ride across the bridge from the parking lot where we parked the car will take us into Valley Forge. Valley Forge National Historical Park was the site of the 6-month encampment of General George Washington's Continental Army in the winter of 1777 to 1778. Washington picked the spot because it was close enough to keep an eye on British troops sheltering in Philadelphia, yet far enough away to prevent a surprise attack on his own Continental Army. While conditions were notoriously cold and harsh, and provisions were in short supply, it was at the winter camp where George Washington proved his mettle and transformed a battered Continental Army into a unified, world-class fighting force capable of beating the British. Our first stop is the National Memorial Arch. In 1970, the Valley Forge Park Commission developed a plan for the construction of the Washington Arch. This was to serve as the entrance gate. A short way down the road, we found a schoolhouse. Next stop was Washington's headquarters. During his time at Valley Forge, Washington set up his headquarters in a small 2-story stone building. You can just picture him sitting at his desk trying to put together a plan to win the war and get his guys in shape. These were some of the soldiers' quarters, pretty cramped in there. The trails were all paved and it was pretty easy riding. What was a little more difficult was to imagine what life was like back in the days when the Continental Army was here. Friedrich von Steuben was very significant in Valley Forge. He left Europe for America to volunteer for the Continental Army. His credentials were greatly exaggerated, and he offered to serve under Washington and only get paid if America won the war. While at Valley Forge, he restored morale, introduced discipline, and whipped the soldiers into fighting shape. Well, we didn't put an awful lot of miles on our bike on this trip, but we did see some interesting sights and got to experience a couple of different trails at the same time. Back to the car. Hope you enjoyed this.